Hello and welcome to CommsCast, the reputation podcast powered by Adfactors PR. I'm Manibalan Manoharan, Senior Group Head and Lead Digital at Adfactors PR. Today joining me on this episode is Ms. Alpana Killawala, who has been heading the Reserve Bank of India's Communications Department for over 2 decades and has a rich experience of working with 6 governors. And she has authored this nice book, A Fly on the RBI Wall. And for the last 4 years, she has been a strategic advisor at Adfactors PR. Alpana, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mani. Pleasure entirely mine to join the show.
Thank you. Alpana, I read this book. This is an excellent book. I must tell my audiences it was an amazing read. Before we come to the book, Alpana, can you talk us through your journey in a minute, like about your wonderful career? If you can just quickly summarize it for us in a minute, and then we will get into the.
Sure, Mani. I began very young. At 21, I applied for my first job and got it. That was at Indian Banks Association, which is a kind of SRO for banking industry. I edited the journal, which was a professional journal, gave information about banking and articles and all that. Then for 3 years, I was a journalist. I went to Business India as a writer, and I used to cover banking, finance, and the RBI, of course. And from there, I think it was a switch over to the RBI as the communication head. Vision of one of the earlier governor that I worked with, Mr. Venkatramanan. And after 26 years and serving 6 governors, I retired and joined Adfactors PR. So that's briefly my career path.
Interesting. You switched from journalism, breaking stories, to shaping narratives. That's a very interesting shift which had happened. And this is one question which I wanted to kind of ask. In this book, you mentioned about your experiences, and each chapter is defined about your tenure with different governors. So if you can just go in detail about how is the book structured, and if you can help our audience understand the structuring of the book and what were some of the interesting anecdotes from there.
When you say fly on the RBI wall, an insider's view of the central bank communication, it gives you an impression that I'm recording my memoirs, but that's not exactly what the book is about. I have written it from my memory, true. But it's more about my learnings in communication at the RBI. And structure of the book is very simple. It's a chronological thing. I have divided the whole narrative into 6 chapters pertaining to each governor. And I structured it this way mainly because I could have done it thematic, like media relations, one chapter, and what I did in media relations in different governors' time. But that would have made the reader go up and down, back and forth in the narrative, because I did something in Mr. Venkatramanan's time, I did something in Dr. Jalan's time. Dr. Reddy's time was different, Dr. Urjit Patel was entirely different. So I divided it into governors' chapters. So it's a kind of chronological order. The reader's journey is linear. And he absorbs different lessons in different themes of PR easily. So that's how my structuring of the book happened.
During this conversation, you mentioned about the 6 governors that you were working with. And everyone had a very unique leadership style. And communication or perception is 90% behavior and 10% communication. So your communication also changed as per the leadership style. So if you can help us with what was that one key takeaway from each governor, and if you can just summarize this for our viewers, I think that will be very interesting.
Let's see, I began with Mr. Venkatramanan. He was the first person to realize or perceive that the RBI needs a communications person. And I used to talk to him very often as a journalist. And I used to tell him also a few things that I would observe from outside about RBI. And he never reacted to that. So I didn't realize ever that he's noting this mentally. But I learned later after joining the RBI when my colleagues told me that he was the person who suggested we should get somebody like her in the bank. Not me specifically, but somebody like her.
And
that's
this
how.
was the time when they were also looking for some lateral positions when experts are coming in taking that position. Was this the time?
Not really in that sense that they were not really looking for lateral entries, but I just happened to be one. The banking industry was going through that phase of looking for talent because the world was opening up. The banking here in India was also opening up. Economy was opening up. So it was a reform time. And the traditional bankers probably were looking for people who would understand the new nuances that economy was going to develop. So there was a little kind of movement in looking out for talent. And communication was one area which was emerging as a new area of expertise because India's economy was opening up and the central banks the world over were moving towards transparency. And we also were going to be opening up. So I think that must be the reason why Mr. Venkatramanan thought of shaping the communication for future in a way.
Wonderful. That was about Governor Venkatramanan. What about the other RBI governors?
Dr. Rangarajan was very erudite and he believed in giving speeches. So in his time, we learned how to use speeches as RBI's another tool for communication, where we could explain in detail the measures that we took. And this continued for all the following governors who used speeches very strategically to explain the RBI's stance behind complicated moves that we were making. Next was Dr. Jalan. And day one, he called me in and he said, Alpana, whatever you want to do in communication, do it. And wherever you need my support, you tell me. So I never had that opportunity because once he gave me the freedom, the world opened up to me and we did a lot of initiatives in communication. Dr. Reddy was a different person. So he said no public opinion making through PR for me. My regulations will speak for themselves and that's about it. So we had a very quiet kind of communication strategy during Dr. Reddy's time. But we did a lot of initiative, like the communication policy written out for a central bank for the first time ever in Dr. Reddy's time we did and put it on the website. Following him was Dr. Subbarao. Subbarao was a very open person. He believed in demystifying the RBI. So we did a lot of initiatives on demystifying RBI. The whole journey of financial literacy about the RBI and about the banking subjects happened in Dr. Subbarao's time. That also happened to be a platinum jubilee year of RBI. So that gave us the context for doing this exercise of demystifying RBI.
And what about the rockstar RBI governor? That's what the media called him, Dr. Raghuram Rajan.
Yes. How can one forget him? Media was just fallen in love with him. And every young girl called me up and said, Alpana, give me the first interview. And we had to control that. Plus, we had to change that image from a rockstar governor to a learned, experienced central banker. So we had to control the photography initially, wear his specs on his nose and he looks at the mic like that. And we changed all the rockstar pictures in the media and controlled with this specs on the nose kind of picture. But one thing common to all was all were superbly brilliant. All had great regard and great understanding of communication. But they all communicated with counsel, if I can use that word, counsel from me. Before they did anything, public speaking or anything, they would ask me whether that was the right thing to do. After every interview with the media, they would turn to me and say, "Sab theek hua." Not that they would goof up or anything. I mean, they were so brilliant that they just cannot make such mistakes. But still, the humility of each one that they would ask me whether whatever they said on the interview, anything needed some editing or some, um, all were great learning for me in communication.
Hi, I'm Mani on CommsCast. With me is Alpana Killawala, who has written this wonderful book. Alpana, we had shared this question with you earlier. What is that one key takeaway from each of the 6 RBI governors that you would like to share with us for our audiences?
Yeah, thanks, Mani, for sharing it, because this question virtually asks me to summarize my 250 pages book into some 25 words. So I thought through it and I jotted down some key words. Mr. Venkatramanan, he was a very forward-looking person. So I learned to look ahead in life. My life in RBI was communication, of course. Dr. Rangarajan, speeches we started using as a major tool for communication to explain RBI stance. After that was Dr. Jalan, and with him, we learned how to innovate in communication. He would ask me a question on communication, how do I do this? And I had to think on my feet as to how do they do it. And we learned how to use scrums. In central banking communication, scrums is very important a way to communicate, because whatever central bank says moves the market. And the media started following the governor of RBI as a kind of routine. Wherever he would go, they would follow him. And then he would have to say some few words so that they get a headline. And we learned to use that opportunity to communicate to the market whatever we wanted to communicate to the market. So that was what in his time we did. Dr. Reddy, the most important lesson I learned in his time was keep your goal in front of you. The timelines can change as per the market wished, but your goal should be in front of you and you should move always towards your goal. Alter the timeline if required. Dr. Subbarao, for him, each word that he communicated was important, along with the action that would go with that. Action meaning the behavior that it would go with. So he would say a certain word with certain conviction, and that would convey in his behavior. So that's what I learned from him. Art of listening is another thing that I learned from him, because communication is not just what you say, it's also about listening to the world. And who knows it better than you? You do social listening today.
Correct.
A major thing, part of your function.
Yes.
And Dr. Rajan, of course, what he did was he used his status to communicate what he believed in. So honesty in communication and using your position, your status, to put the weight behind that communication. So these, I think, are very important lessons when somebody wants to communicate and establish his or her credibility into communication. So that's the long answer to your short question.
Alpana, we as comms professional advise our clients not to answer any hypothetical question. But I have one hypothetical question which I wrote for you. So back in 90s, when you were shaping communications at the RBI, social media didn't really exist. There was time to think, reflect, and respond. Fast forward today, and narratives can spiral within minutes. So if platforms like X, Reddit, and WhatsApp had been around in those high-stakes moments in the RBI history, how do you think communication strategies would have evolved? And how would you have handled the pressure of instant public opinion? And how do you do it now that social media is real, pressing, and instant? your reply will help the communication professionals to handle the situation better?
First, instant communication was true for a central bank-like institution at that time also, because we function as a bureaucracy, and bureaucracy has several levels of approvals. So even if I think of communicating something for tomorrow's edition of the newspaper, I have to run with the paper and that communication content. I have to myself run and get it approved from the governor or deputy governor or whoever is involved. So that instant communication was existing even at that time. So far as media is concerned, like you said, WhatsApp and WhatsApp existed at even that time and was just gaining popularity among personal communications. So what happened was actually there happened a crisis because of WhatsApp.
This you're saying in the time frame of?
This was in Dr. Reddy's time.
Okay.
So it should be mid 2000. WhatsApp, as I said, was just developing, evolving in personal communication. So just to save money, because SMS cost huge money at that time. So individually, if I wanted to text you something, I would do it as a WhatsApp message rather than as a SMS. So a bank, a largish private bank, a huge number of holidays come in April every year. So it was a like bunching of holidays, 2-3 days, plus a weekend. So 4-5 days of banking holidays. And a particular ATM in one of the branches of that bank ran out of cash. Now, ATM has a particular route and way to refeed the machine. So that was happening already. But in the meanwhile, somebody from that ATM who suffered because of that ATM and no cash WhatsApped a message to his family, friends, or whoever, and said that, this bank's ATMs are running out of cash. And that spread like a wildfire. The bank had a near run down kind of a situation because virtually every ATM people went and stood in queue and wanted to withdraw money, thinking that this bank has gone insolvent. We had to intervene because the bank wasn't insolvent really. It just, one of the ATMs ran out of cash and it took some time to refill that ATM. So what we did was, the website was already in the picture, so internet, instant communication was available. So we drafted a press release. I coordinated with the COPCOM of that bank and said that we are issuing a press release supporting you. Make sure that that press release is taken a printout of and put in all the branches, all the ATMs, and put it on WhatsApp. I insisted on WhatsApp messaging because the fire started out of a WhatsApp message.
Got it.
So we used the same channel to popularize or to propagate our message like a wildfire again. And within 3 or 4 hours, the crisis subsided. So using the same social media that you had the crisis because of, very important and very crisp and very succinct message of saying what exactly is to be done.
Got it. So Alpana, what you're trying to say over here is like even the instant information reaching out to you, like the ATM is running out and that information coming to you. So like real-time listening and then reacting to that, I think that is the key over here.
Yes.
So I think that's again something which we have been also seeing. A lot of our clients want to know, especially the CXOs, they want to know what exactly is the chatter on different platforms like Twitter and other social media platforms.
Very, very important because I remember in a recent time also one particular organization had this problem. One of the social media platforms was running a kind of campaign against that company. I won't name it and I won't name the sector because it will become so obvious. But the entire complaint and supportive messages were going on one social media platform and nobody was responding from that company. I was so surprised. And the company had to pay a fine to the regulator, a huge fine it was. So social listening is a must in today's time.
So to all my listeners also, I think keeping your ear to the ground, I think like you do in good olden days,
Yes.
keep your ears grounded and listen to every chatter and how do we respond to it. I think that's how.
Even at that time, we used to do some kind of social listening, actually. I started in the RBI a practice of putting up the media clippings. And media covered not only print media, also audiovisual, meaning television had just started at that time. So we used to take clips of relevant television news item or whatever and put it up to the governor and the entire hierarchy. The governor would use it as market information.
Got it.
And he used to mark some portions in the newspaper clipping and send it down to the relevant department saying, what about this? What about this? Have you checked this? Have you checked that?
Great. Alpana, you spent 26 remarkable years at the Reserve Bank of India. When you retired, you could have joined anywhere. What made you join Adfactors PR?
Good question, Mani. Madan ji and I go long years back. Almost 25 years we have known each other. And I have a great regard for Madan ji because he is really a thought leader. He leads from the front and he shapes the industries and Adfactors PRs, which I learned later, future. So after retirement, I was sitting at home trying to settle my house because from RBI house, I shifted to my own house and trying to settle it in. In between, my mother expired, so I was getting over all those paperwork and all that. And suddenly one day a call comes from Madan ji's office saying that, "Kya kar rahe ho?" He asked me literally this, "Kya kar rahe ho?"
The
Aake milo.
Madan sir style.
Exactly. So, "Aake milo." So I came here and met him. And he said, "Kya karna chahte ho?" So I said, "Haven't thought about it." "To kal se aa jao." And I said, "What will I do?" He said, "Do whatever you want." And that was it. The moment he said that do what you want, I had settled in my mind that I'm coming from tomorrow. Because otherwise, I didn't want to, of course. This is a long explanation to a short thing of my decision that I decided to join at that very moment that I came here. And after coming here, I realized that I haven't made a wrong decision at all because the kind of things I've learned here, the advice that Madan sir gives in his weekly calls to all the professionals inside the company, phenomenal learning I have learned. What I learned in RBI, I didn't realize that was one world. Here, I'm learning about advertising, communication, COPCOM, reputation management, which is the future and presence and future of COPCOM. This I would not have learned had I not come to Adfactors PR. And the amount of research, hard work that the people put in, people think that PR agencies just do things in a jiffy. But it's not so. Every word that is put out on paper as pitch or strategy or whatever has humongous thought behind it, humongous research behind it. And all that I would not have learned had I not joined here.
And we are like one of the biggest beneficiaries because we walk into your room when we are working on pitches or any specific issues that we are facing, and that conversation is of immense value. So I think that's really great. Alpana, I love this book. You should in fact tell all our viewers why it's a must read for all the communication professionals.
Thank you, Mani. It's a kind of playbook in corporate communication. Very little available on this subject, I believe. And the other thing is it works on 2 or 3 levels. It tells you about the personalities of the governors. It narrates that time's situations and crisis and evolution of communication and the institution, a huge institution and a great institution like the RBI. And of course, it's written in first person singular. So 250 pages won't take you more than a weekend to finish. So everybody must read it, I would say.
Wonderful. Wow, Alpana. This has been really a great conversation. The moment I read this book, I wanted to hear from an author's perspective also. I learned a lot of insights basis this communication, and I really hope the audiences also go and pick up this book and become a better communication professional. Thank you for your time. And like I had fun having this conversation, share your experience also of participating in this podcast.
Thoroughly enjoyed Mani with a co-traveler on the journey of communication. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So that was this episode of CommsCast, the reputation podcast powered by Adfactors PR. Till we meet again, this is your host and friend Manibalan Manoharan, Senior Group Head at Adfactors PR, saying stay safe, take care, and guard that reputation. Bye-bye. Oh, I started sweating. Alpana, see this? This is what happens to spokespeople.
You're training the and like him, see?
यार जल्दी जल्दी लाइन बोल के निकल जाओ.
Really?
जल्दी जल्दी क्या अच्छा ये अगला क्वेश्चन है. चलो चलो फटाक से. So what did I say? Sorry, repeat that again.